Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today we're talking about Nano Dimensions, NNDM. Haven't done this one in a while, but my previous video is in the description below. I'm going to go through everything you need to know about this one, including institutional interest and technical analysis. So let's jump right into this one. So NNDM, been a while, previous video is in the description, but we need to look a little bit into who they are, just as a quick refresher. To make it short, or to sum it up, 3D printed electronics. They are able to as well create prototypes on demand at a faster track. And so the usual industry itself would usually get different prototypes, manufacture them, and the length of the process itself is quite lengthy itself. It's a long process. However, with their products, for instance, like DragonFly, it's an AME 3D printing system, and you're able to 3D print that system or circuit boards in whatever shape you want, in almost whatever environment you want, at almost momentarily. Now, of course, it does take time, but in terms of relative to what the previous industry or the current industry trends and manufacturing for prototypes, it is a non-brainer. And so what we're looking at here is the capabilities and applications of this one. Current applications including also military, you have possible applications that including medical, others, education, the list goes on. So I've covered this one previously a while ago, but they do have around $80 million invested, mostly in research and development over 6 years. Now the current cash that they do hold as of January 20th, 2021, and keep that in mind, is $990 million. And we're going to go towards that valuation later on as well. And they go on through multiple things going on, including stagings with different customers and investments. But I would like to focus on a few things just for this one. And we can go on later on in a different video, explore this presentation further. Just because this presentation is a little bit outdated, I do want to look into just the plan for 2021 and 2022, which is riding the elephant. So DragonFly PIK Performance Improvement Kit, and then stage 2 is the DragonFly Mark, which is a manufacturing and reliability kit with new materials that reach specifications of industry standards repeatably and reliably of printing process at an industrial level. And then you have the next generation machines into a stage 3. So this is with new materials which fit mil specs, multiple links, support materials. And then you got stage 4, which is new machines, production runs capabilities, and throughput for such. And stage 5, which is large chunk, highest throughput, and loose loop, real-time quality inspections and assurance modular configurable machines. So these are some of the things you might want to look at, but they have already sold approximately 60 machines. And so there is definitely a lot of interest into this one here. And they're working assumptions to at least until Q3 2021 for the COVID effect in terms of the businesses itself. But we're going to move on now towards the latest news. And some of the latest news that you're looking at is including on the 8th of April, they appointed Ness Ziona as Chief Production Officer and also the head of strategic M&A. Now, this is important because they've been a senior executive leading international technology corporations as the president of Verint Systems Incorporation's VRNT, Global Securities Intelligence Business SI. He was responsible for 1,200 employees and grew SI revenue from $200 million to $400 million annually. As the CEO of Verint Limited, he was also responsible for the acquisition and integration of multiple different companies. And then you have the day before, Nano Dimensions announces Zivi Nedevi appointed as the new president. Now, right over here, they announced today that they have been appointed as the president of NNDM. As previously announced, Yuval Stern, the CEO now of Nano Dimension, will be appointed as the chairman of the board subject to shareholder approval at the upcoming event. We're going to move on. I know I'm rushing just a little bit between these news and whatnot. I just don't want to make this one very much of a lengthy video. I just want to give you a bit of a good perspective and a good idea about this one before we move on towards the technical analysis. Nano Dimensions' first ever additively manufactured electronics AME monolithic RF communication circuit has been sent to the International Space Station flight studies. Now, this is currently made by Nano Dimensions and designed and integrated by L3 Harris and has been flown to the International Space Station. This project took 2 years in the makings and was selected by ISS US National Laboratory for Space Effect Studies. The project will provide a systematical analysis of additively manufactured single board for radio frequency space system, especially for nanosatellites that will communicate with the ground-based satellite tracking system. Now, this is massive because there's 2 different customers here we're keeping not really focusing on. International Space Station, so including NASA, bigger names that are related to space discoveries and exploration. And another one, which is massive, L3 Harris. So they're previously known, I think they're a merged company, but they're previously known as 2 different companies. They are massive. So them themselves working together, that paves the way for more orders, etc. going on and more partnerships. And some of the fourth quarter highlights for 2020 financial results. We can go ahead and look into what they've mentioned. So they ended 2020 with a strong balance sheet and $671 million in cash and bank deposits. Thanks to the equity offering we concluded, and during the year, we have strengthened it even more into balance of $1.5 billion as of the end of February 2021, said Yale Sandler, the CFO. And this is one of the things I really wanted to talk about, is how much money they have. And we're going to go through that in a second. So we already talked about you have Stearns into appointments of CEO. And so moving on, we're looking into here, just again, a reminder, $990 million as of January 20th. And adding to that $500 million on the 18th of February, you're coming into $1.49 billion, which is equivalent to what they've mentioned, $1.5 billion in cash. Keep that in mind because we're going to look into price over book right after the news. And that is massive. And so they had a CEO letter to the shareholders previously back in the 9th of February, a large number of upgrades of the older DragonFly Pro into our next generation systems, the 24/7 DragonFly LDM, which is indicative of the high level of customer satisfaction and their continued utilization of our machines. Approximately 70% of our DragonFly Pro customers have upgraded their machine, revenue boosted by our recurring revenue model, which includes the selling of dielectric and conductive materials, inks, used by the DragonFly LDM for 3D printing. Strong initial sales of our new nanos, nano service of proof of concept and prototyping printing of HiPads for prospective customers who may have purchased our system, but who instead paid us service as a result of the stagnation of their capital expenses due to COVID. And recurring revenues from customers with annual service and support agreements and sales to Pacific Rim customers who recovered from earlier COVID-19 pandemic and started to buy machines back in November 2020. And DragonFly LDM was sold to Academy of Engineering Physics and as well as 2 other customers in the APAC region. And another one, Nano Dimensions engages in Carl Square for European acquisition research. That's an M&A research and perhaps the new expertise that they did hire Hanan Gino, and they are also a part of the strategic M&A, the head of that. And so we might get some updates relating to that. And before we move on towards the price over book right now, if you would like to see more contents like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and the bell notification button. If you would like to join our Discord server, it's totally free. We have some NNDM fanatics right there, and they would love for you to join. There's no commitments. And if we were to look into the price over book, if we look into something like Yahoo, we're seeing 1.97. Now that's a bit odd because we do know that the cash they have, just the cash on hand, is $1.5 billion. So let's go ahead onto financials. Let's go to balance sheet, go to quarterly, and take a look into how much is that cash that they do have. So in terms of their total assets, I would say majority of them is cash. So you're looking into $1.5 billion of total assets as we calculated earlier. Go back to statistics and you look into the market cap being $1.9 billion. So 1.9 divided by 1.5, you're getting a price over book of 1.27. So it's even better than the price over book. This is updated quarterly, so it doesn't really reflect that. But anyway, you're getting somewhere around 1.27. Given as well that the market cap here is actually accurate based on the new outstanding shares, but take a look into SP500. The average there of the current SP500 price to per book value, the current value of that for SP500 is 450. that means that this one, if you were to consider the number we just calculated, this one can go around 3.5 times more in terms of the value based on price for a book. But of course, we need to also consider something like the sales, etc. So this is more of an intrinsic value based just on the price of a book. And moving on now towards the institutional buyers, we see that institutions seem to be really interested in this one in 2021. Now, a lot of green here, including just even today, adding this week alone, or in the last 2 weeks, hundreds of thousands of shares, coming almost closer to 2 million shares here just by 2.235 by Sequina International Group, and ARK Next Generation Internet ETF, that's $4.1 million. So there's a lot of ARK investment going on here, and we can move on now towards technical analysis. Now, on the technical analysis point of view, we can go ahead and start dissecting minute by minute, but I'm going to focus on the main picture here. So on the 1 week perspective, it looks like it's been sliding, but so has the market, so we're not going to really bash it on there. All I'm saying is that it's highly oversold, momentum seems to be negative, and it's trading sideways on a 1 week perspective. The 1 day perspective really shows you the same movement. It's kind of sliding, drifting a little bit downwards. All the moving averages are following downwards, and really this is just an indication more of an accumulation with respect to how the market is moving. If you were to look into the MACD, you're seeing almost no histogram. It's attempting a positive reversal, but the market itself isn't really letting it do that. In terms of moving averages, everything seems to be sliding downwards there. Again, exactly like I did talk about, stochastic fast and stochastic slow are both telling you this might actually be a good time to buy. It's giving you the same signal as what we've seen around in the middle there, but this is more about a bump rather than a continuous long-term time to buy. It would be very interesting to look into significant supports and resistances, especially from the 1789 level that we're looking at all the way down to the 51 cent. And we see a very important Fibonacci retracement support sitting at the 713. Following that, 459. Significant resistance levels are at 918, 1123, 1415, and 1787. Current price line action shows significant support levels sitting at 714, 605, 514, 381, and 280. Significant resistance levels, you're looking at one at 790, a very strong one that is, and then following that 873, and then we jump up a little to 1042, it goes up to 1167 and jumps up to around 13 to 14 level. Now comes to the question to Ed, what do you think about this one? I gotta be straight with you, I do like NNDM. In general, the concept is amazing. They have a lot of roads to pave ahead. The amount of cash they have, they can be really, really disruptive in the market. Now, hopefully with the new additions of the board members, their management team, I do hope that they know how to use that cash effectively and ramp up their technology. And their technology is there. It just needs a bit more integration, and with that much money, they can move mountains, and I believe in that. What do you think about this ticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like. Have a wonderful day.